What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh wait, I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. Okay. I wish Landy wasn't always late, but here we are, episode 689, sponsored by Midnight. Shout out to Midnight, shout out to Charles, shout out to the entire team. Also, shout out to Polymarket. Polymarket is the official prediction market sponsor of the Breakdown and the DG brand. Shout out to them. I was looking actually at Polymarket and JD Vance doesn't look too good for 2028. I don't know. I was just looking at. Listen, the people are talking. We'll talk more about that. Talk more about that during the show. Also, shout out to Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet, the most secure, one of the most secure wallets out here in the crypto space. I gotta bring Vic on here and talk to him not just about Cake Wallet and Cake Pay, but I want to talk to him about OpenClaw. I see that he's using that. He's spun up an agent. I want to get into that AI talk as well. Also, shout out to People's Reserve. Big up to CJ. That's right. People's Reserve giving people a chance to own their homes and shit. That's nice, right? All right, we got Landy in the back. Landy's been waiting. You know, he couldn't make it yesterday, but makes it today. So without further ado, let's bring him right in. By the way, I don't even know how I'm on the show today. I have absolutely no clue how I'm doing the show today. But Landy, good morning to you, or good afternoon.
Well, hello, David. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Yeah, enjoying the markets, playing out pretty much as we discussed last week. So positioning was actually pretty easy, and it was helpful because I was not able to actually, well, outside of the opening bell, I really wasn't able to do much in the markets yesterday as I was pretty busy, and all the way through this morning. So I've yet to go to sleep. It's been a very, very busy 48 hours or more from Sunday until now. So, yeah, I'm having fun. I hope you're
I'm
having
glad.
fun
Uh, why are you laughing?
because I'm delirious right now. I am absolutely delirious. But the fun part is that even in my delirium, um, I can still read the charts and take a look at the markets and break them down for you and the audience because there is some interesting things going on in the markets as it relates to some of the things that we talked about last week. In particular, I said keep track of WTI. That's going to be US oil. You can look at the CFDs on US oil, or you can look at futures. Keep an eye on Dixie as it relates to traditional markets coming into a major zone of interest at some major weekly levels where a bounce pretty much expected on the daily. We have gotten that in traditional markets. Bitcoin holding up at some of the levels that we discussed last week as well. And essentially, target hit on oil to the initial target hit on oil to the downside, which took Dixie with it. So, the charts will clue you into the next major breaking news, right? That
Yeah.
is something that is really, the money moves first before we start to hear about what the reporting is, whether it's geopolitical, whether it's major corporations making bigger moves. Money moves first. And Bitcoin holding up well at the $68,000 level, got a nice bounce back into the low 70s. And, oil breaking down below the 90 to 95 level was something that I was looking for as an indicator to bring Dixie down to get bounces across the board for traditional markets at the major weekly levels. So we got everything that we were kind of looking for. Now it's a hurry up and wait scenario because oil's still in a precarious spot where if it does put in another higher low, I would expect, a retest of at minimum the local areas 95 and above to around that 102 to $100 a barrel region. Um, and that's going to be indicative of what we're going to start seeing and hearing in the news as well regarding the geopolitical environment for the conflict in the Middle East right now. And obviously, you've been keeping an eye on that. I've been keeping an eye on that as well. Um, Western media really, really, let's say, not really reflective of reality for what is happening. Western media seems to want to fight, kicking and screaming about everything that this particular president does. But one of the things that we do know is that the market is telling us everything that we need to know about what's really happening. One thing that is really that I am starting to keep a very, very close eye on after the South Pars strike is LNG. This is going to be a big one going forward. Um, Not going to necessarily see it in price for LNG for a while, but the United States being the world's largest oil and natural gas or liquefied natural gas producer, there's likely going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing, which means that exports are going to increase. And we're going to be coming out of the other side of winter here in the United States. And every time we get a cold snap um, in the United States, we see LNG racing, right? And also because we are an exporter of LNG, when we are heavily exporting LNG and we get a cold snap, we see violent moves to the upside for natural gas here. But we are increasing production here in the United States. Um, and if we do see more deals done with other nations that really need LNG, and we see some sort of a deal come out of, some are looking at dealing with Russia, some are looking at dealing with the United States, and it's a matter of getting it shipped. and how expensive that's going to be and who can offer the best price and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, Russia heavily sanctioned. Some sanctions are lifted for oil right now. I don't know if that extends to natural gas. I'd have to go double check. But that temporary sanctions lift, allowing some of that oil to move for Russia for the time being, likely contributing to some of the downward pressure on um, on oil pricing. We also know that there was a deal done for some of the tankers that were stuck holding some Iranian oil as well. We don't know necessarily where that money is going to be parked, but it doesn't sound like it's going directly to the Iranian regime. But if that is moving, it's likely going to apply some downward pressure to as that gets rolling, because it does take time. A lot of people are very impatient. We've got TikTok brain. Sorry, everybody on TikTok, but we do,
Brain
right? We
rot.
want everything right now. But as that stuff kind of gets moving, it's going to be interesting to watch those two markets, because as we head into the spring and summer months here in the United States for LNG, the demand goes down significantly, right? Because you don't need as much to heat homes, and what might occur with increased exports of LNG would be um, holding up at the lows much stronger, because we'd be exporting more, thus buoying price at some levels. So it's going to be interesting to watch some of that going forward in the coming months, especially as we start to get into the spring time frame. But it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin at 71. I know a lot of people are cheering. Seen a lot of charts online talking about this is the macro low. It's only higher from here. US dollar dominance fail is one of the biggest farces, I think, in the actual media narrative, and counting on that to get Bitcoin to some of these absurdly high prices in the near future, I think is a little silly, but it is holding up in some good places for the daily. We just have to be aware of higher or lower highs as it relates to the most recent highs at 76K, because that would more likely start to paint the scenario of going back into a consolidation and possibly a trend shift.
Landy, before we continue to move on, I just want to because I forgot to say this earlier, and it's my fault that you were late again.
Yes.
I like to go first. Obviously, I acknowledge the sponsors, but I am up for the Creator of the Year award. Okay, I am up for. Guys, relax, calm down. I'm up for the Creator of the Year award. That's right. StockTwits Cash Tag Awards at the New York Stock Exchange. The category is Creator of the Year. I don't take this kind of stuff. I don't know if I take it seriously or not. I'd rather be left off the ballots. I've always said that. But when I'm put on the ballot, when I'm put into these categories, I appreciate it. I do. I got to be humble enough to say, okay. I don't take compliments well, but I'm up here. Everybody here in the lineup is pretty cool, but I like to win. So if you go out and I think you have to go to where do you got to go and vote? It's cashtag.stocktwits.com. If you can go ahead and be so kind enough to go out there and vote for your boy, that'd be great. Okay, that'd be absolutely great. Again, category is Crypto Creator of the Year. I kind of don't like that though. I kind of don't like it, Landy.
What's up?
Do you know why I kind of don't like that?
Not really. I mean,
because it pigeonholes me in Crypto Creator of the Year. Like, I think of myself, I talk about finance and stuff, right? I know crypto's in there. But then it's like he don't talk about anything else. He's a crypto creator.
Well, I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. Seeing as David, I would like to remind you that midnight Polymarket, Cake Wallet, and the new sponsor that we have here, um, you know, are all crypto related, and we tend to talk a lot about crypto. So,
But I talk about politics too.
but
Like I'm a threat
every
out
crypto
here.
creator now talks about politics as well
Yeah,
because
but come on, they talk about politics. They have absolutely no clue what the fuck they're talking about. I mean, like, let's be serious.
they
But
certainly have strong opinions. I also talk about politics, but I'm literally crypto landy on X. and, and what is it? Landy.btc or whatever on TikTok. So hey,
hold
look,
on, do
I
we
like
stall out?
stock
Hold on, did
twits.
we stall out?
Wait,
Hold on, I think we stalled out.
where?
Hold on, did we stall out? Hold on, let me see.
I don't
Oh
think
no, we
so.
didn't. Never mind.
Nope.
I'm crazy. Anyway, I'm here. Stock Twits Hashtag Awards being held at the New York Stock Exchange, presented by Polymarket. Again, and this has nothing to do with my relationship with Polymarket at all. I was told about this, like I was potentially in the running. I was told about this, that I was potentially in the running. I was like, didn't give nothing to it. And then 2 days ago it came out. Then I'm getting hit. Stock Twits is big. They put this all out on LinkedIn. I'm getting hit by old coworkers like, yo, I've seen you on this cash tag awards thing as the crypto creator of the. And I started laughing. I'm like, man. Anyway,
Well, I'm actually a fan of Stock Twits
me too.
over there. I think they do a really good job. I know a few of the major accounts that are out there making the rounds with I think some really good takes on where the
Yeah.
markets are going. Obviously, very heavily focused on stocks, but every once in a while they dip into crypto. I think they have really good. I think that the team that they've assembled over there has a really good um, way of presenting where things are in the markets, especially when they get into the options side of things, which is where I like to play is in options on markets. So
Yeah.
awesome! I'm glad that you're up. Congratulations that you're up for an award here. I'm in the process of going over and voting myself.
Thank you.
Um,
Listen, it's nice. It's nice to be recognized, but I'm not. I don't really care about awards, honestly speaking. No, I'm being truthful when I say that. I don't really care. If I win, great, and I appreciate it, but um, I don't care.
I
No,
see.
I
I
just
see. Wait. I see a comment immediately under there going, "Jim Cramer, really?"
yeah. I was reading some of the comments on their side, and they were like, "Who the fuck are these guys?" So, I started laughing. I thought it was funny. Uh,
Oh, that's great.
hey, listen, you got to work harder. And what I wanted to mention this about Polymarket because I seen this on Polymarket.
Yep.
Well, JD Vance and we'll get into crypto right now, but I seen this and I didn't want to lose track.
Yeah,
Will JD
Marco
Vance
Rubio.
win the
Go check Marco Rubio.
2028
Though.
U.S. presidential election? And it's down to 18% now. So I just wanted to say this before, I mean, Polymarket hasn't like when Polymarket comes out with stuff that they're hardly wrong, right? Am I wrong on that?
I mean,
I mean,
it's
like
way too early to tell, so you'll
I
see
get
that
it,
market shift. I mean,
but
but think about what's going on with Marco. I mean, JD has really taken a backseat in terms of being in the eye of the public. He's been working in the background, right? Whereas who is really out there outside of President Trump most prominently? Obviously, it's Pete Hegseth, Dean Kane, and and the CENTCOM commander. But who has been kind of the main person in the public eye, and that's Marco Rubio. And I think he's top of mind right now, and you're seeing that reflected in the actual kind of poly market moves. Now, the
Yeah.
actual crash in that, you can kind of correlate that to Marco kind of dominating the narrative since the excuse me, since the Venezuela stuff went down, right?
Yeah.
Which, he's national security advisor, right? As well as the Secretary of State. So, he's involved in literally everything. Um, from, what's going on with intel and conflict and operations to actually, pushing forward the goals of the United States abroad and managing various relationships and situations through the State Department. So I think he's been doing a good job, and he's a really clear communicator of what is going on. Right? He's obviously a very
I
polished
just
guy.
think Trump threw him under the bus.
Through JD under
Uh,
the bus?
yeah, I'm just gonna be real about it
Why? I mean,
because you know, in respect to Rubio, I think Rubio has done a great job as a Secretary of State. He's, obviously with the Venezuela stuff, Cuba, like he's done a lot. You see him out there a lot. Trump is praising him a lot.
mhm.
So, I mean, you don't hear a lot of praise towards JD. You really don't. Like, Trump gets on this
Well,
microphone and he's not praising. Not that I don't think he's doing it intentionally, but like he's just not talking about JD. He'll mention JD here and there, but it's not like Rubio. Oh my God, Rubio, greatest Secretary of State of all time, and da, da, da. People are noticing. The Republican Party is noticing. Like people are noticing Rubio now, and I'm reading a lot of comments. People are like, "Hey, I'd rather have Rubio over JD Vance." Like
uh,
I'm seeing that more and more now. So I'm not surprised by the poly market uh,
I I've
about the
said
poly
this
market stats.
I've said this kind of since the beginning. After inauguration and after the first few months of Trump's reentry into office, um, I think that Rubio is probably one of the best communicators in the administration, and he gets things done. I think more importantly, he gets things done. And if you look at something crypto related that's kind of fallen on JD's sphere, is his connections to Silicon Valley and the guys that have been kind of managing the crypto stuff and providing for um, the meetings and talks with Congress to move forward crypto policy. And I think that that is not been great. And now I don't put the blame of a lot of like the most recent stuff going on with the Clarity Act. And I did want to bring this up because the Clarity Act specifically is, Trump himself seems to be getting all the heat for what's going on in the Clarity Act that was written by Congress, right? When Trump the people that he put in CFTC and SEC are the only reason that we have any clarity going
Exactly.
forward is actually his appointments to CFTC and SEC. And Congress has done nothing but stymie the agenda that he has been trying to put forward. And all I'm reading about after some amendments came through on the Clarity Act regarding native crypto yield, um, is how much of a failure this has been, and oh, I voted for him because of this and that, and it's really astroturfed as well, which is I find very interesting because it's a lot of the same posts over and over again regarding this, when in reality the SEC and the CFTC I think have been doing a good job at actually trying to provide a framework for Congress to work from, and the Genius Act already settled this. And I think that, you might find this interesting. I think I've said this before, but there is no native yield on any cryptocurrency, stable coin cryptocurrencies as it stands right now. You don't get native yield just for holding them in your wallet. So this argument coming up in a bill that's supposed to set up framework for everything, from how securities are defined to how to handle DeFi and staking and like all this other stuff is really it seems like an effort to torpedo the bill because we already had this laid out with Genius, stablecoin issuance and where the yield from the treasuries is going to go. And now it's basically being relitigated in a bill that it shouldn't even be an issue in, right? And the only reason that this is a bigger issue is because Brian Armstrong and Coinbase are making it a larger issue. And now we've got a whole bunch of people on Crypto X and Twitter and various places like YouTube and even TikTok that are now talking about how this is such a big deal. We need this native yield and all this other. And it's like, okay, wait. First of all, you don't get native yield anywhere. The only reason that you get any type of yield from Coinbase is not because it is native yield paid out to your wallet by the issuer, in this case being Circle USDC. And the only reason that you get any yield is because you have a subscription to the Coinbase Prime or whatever it's called, right?
Yeah.
And what they're doing is you have a business deal from Circle that's giving Coinbase money so that the Coinbase pays out money based on how much USDC you have in that wallet. You'll get a percentage return, but it's actually not native yield. It's not from treasuries straight to your wallet from the issuer. It is a business deal from Circle to Coinbase. And what he's been trying to do is change the narrative so that it's this. And realistically, why was this being offered up? It's being offered up so that people would get more USDC, also subscribed to Coinbase's premium products for the monthly subscription, and then you'd be eligible to basically earn rewards, and that rewards would be paid out to you in yield on USDC. That is not native yield. So at the end of the day, this entire issue is being brought up because Brian Armstrong wants an edge in the markets for USDC, which is Circle. And of course, it's an American company. And I would be willing to bet that it would do quite well either way when we have clarity. But a lot of this was being done for liquidity purposes. The only way that we've been making money on stable coins is through staking and restaking and liquid staking, right? None of that would be affected by what was just added as amendments. And everybody's like, well, it's protecting the banks because it's all about deposits. It's going to take away deposits. Yeah. Okay, cool. But you're still changing the entire dynamic of what this bill was supposed to be in the first place. If you'd like to relitigate that in its own bill, then let's do it. But you're torpedoing one bill when this conversation was already had and decided through Genius. So
Yeah.
it doesn't strategically, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it does seem as though there are players on the crypto side and the banking side that are trying to torpedo this and using this as the talking point or vector for it. And that's Congress. So for those pointing at the administration has been very clear, especially out of SEC and CFTC. The president's been very clear: compromise and get something on my desk so that we can actually deliver for this industry. And then you had the SEC come out and the CFTC come out and actually lay out some guidelines for what they want to see and what they're going to do and how they're going to handle things themselves right now.
Yeah.
That should act as a good framework for these morons in Congress who are just kowtowing to special interests and allowing large players from the crypto industry to try and change the narrative in order to drive people nuts online and drive support so that they can make more money in their business deals because they have a great business deal between themselves and Circle, and that's Baldylocks and Circle. And realistically, I think this is a stupid, dead issue that was already decided with Genius. And this is all in an effort to actually torpedo any kind of legislation that would allow us to move forward in the crypto industry. And also hamstring what's already being put out there through the CFTC and SEC. Because even though we have really, I think, good direction from the SEC and CFTC right now, and I think that that direction is going to get even better, it's not codified. So if there is a Democrat president or even a Republican president that is not crypto friendly, they can just get rid of all of it. And
Yeah.
Congress is just sitting around twiddling their thumbs and batting it back and forth and then pointing the finger at the administration. And in reality, if you really care about this issue, you should be looking at the congressional leaders who are just screwing around with this bill instead of pointing the finger at the scapegoats. And all you have to do to verify that the administration is actually on the right path from the administration point of view of handling the crypto industry, just go and look at the SEC and CFTC. And then you can clearly see that the problem isn't the administration. Maybe it's Sachs and his little crew there, cooking the books, so to speak, in terms of who they're allowing to do things or how they're providing guidance. But in reality, it's the congressional leaders that are do nothings, that have always been do nothings, that are just actually batting the issue around and using it as a political football to try and actually shift votes within the crypto space. So go and yell at them, because they're the only ones that are going to get anything done or not get it done. The administration can't force the legislation through. That's Congress.
Welcome
Sorry.
to the breakdown, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 689. We have Landy here for another 8 minutes. But we're going to talk about the markets. We're obviously talking. Listen, crypto and politics go together now, man. It just
Sure do.
it really is. It's, and I think they will forever be at joint at the hip here. So
I mean, crypto was a political statement to begin with regarding monetary
is.
systems.
100%. And look, I agree. At the end of the day, like, I think if Trump had the power to go ahead and pass a bill, pass the Clarity Act himself, he would. But obviously, it's not in his hands. It's up to Congress to go ahead and get together and pass it for the American people. But they're taking their good old time. They are absolutely taking their good old time. I honestly, y'all already know how I feel about this. I don't care about the Clarity Act right now in the way it stands. So I'd rather have no bill than this bill. And I've had people come on here. Parianne Boring came on here. She said, well, you might as well get the bill. In a sense, I'm paraphrasing. You might as well get the bill passed because not a lot of bills get passed in general. It's like 1 or 2% that ever get passed. And then you do the amendments. But I just feel like you pass a bad bill, right? And then you start working on it. You know what happens, man. It's like it becomes give or take, give or take. It's political and special interests are in everybody's ear. So, yeah,
Yep.
I think this. Look, I agree with you when it comes to Trump. He brings in. Look what he did for the SEC and the CFTC. I mean, you finally have two organizations that never agree with each other. I mean, from my point of view, are now working together, giving you. They literally came out and gave you the guidelines. They broke it down for you as to what's a security and what's not. They've made it really easy for people to build in America. But obviously, of course, you need the Clarity Act to pass. You need some sort of bill to pass to make sure that nobody else, regardless of who becomes president in 2028, doesn't come in here and rip it all up and, put in the same rules that Gary was working under, right? So, yeah, but I'd rather not take a bad bill. Real quick, switching off. I don't know where you want to go here. You talked about the markets a bit here. You went ahead
Yeah.
and gloated about how you were right last week and stuff like that. So you already did your job there, right?
For the
Why are you
most part, I
laughing?
guess.
Did I say something? By the way, while you weren't here, I did go ahead and tell everybody Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can tune into Landy. If you feel like, doing better with your life, you can go ahead and tune into Landy and maybe get back on your feet, or you can go ahead and stay on welfare. That's exactly what I said, Landy. I said Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays to avoid welfare. Tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and catch the boy wonder Landy wearing nothing but his tuxedo as he breaks down the macro and the markets and wraps it up for you in layman's terms. What do you think about this war that we got going on in Iran? At this point, we have to call it a war because the operation, it's not a
Yeah.
fitting word anymore. So the war, what do you think? Are we winning or are we or we're not winning? Is Trump?
Oh,
There are people
uh,
saying that Trump's nervous. I'm like laughing because I've never seen Trump nervous at all. I think he's playing 5D chess here. People probably will get at me for saying that. I can care less, but I really think he is playing around. I think that the administration knows what the fuck they're doing. What are your thoughts there?
well, absolutely. I mean, the U.S. military has had these plans drawn up for a very, very long time, from the geopolitical strategy side to the war planning side, and I think that the execution by the military has been really, really top tier when they're allowed to do their jobs, which is what the administration and the Department of War are doing, is allowing them to do their jobs. Um, Look, one of the key things to understand is, um, in war, there's going to be a lot of fog of war, a lot of disinformation, malinformation, and psychological operations on all sides. In reality, all you have to look at is, the United States is flying B-52s, a World War II plane, over Iran. All right. Now you've got the A-10 Warthog um, flying, obviously through the coast out there, taking down some of their fast boats. Their navy is gone. Most of their missile facilities have been hit. Their production facilities have been hit. Their drone factories have been hit, and then their supply chain to actually build those have been hit. And it's this is not a scenario in which Iran is winning by any measure. The United States is dominating and has air dominance there, and has sea dominance there, and the majority of the large work, from what I have seen, is out of the way, and now it's essentially cleanup operations for a lot of the decentralized portions of the IRGC and associated military assets that are still out there, right? Um, they've been building this out in Iran for a long time, and their capabilities are crippled at this point. I don't think anybody that's being honest is saying like, "Oh my God, look at how great they're doing." No, they're not doing great. They're not doing great at all. Their entire leadership, like 3 levels deep, is absolutely decimated and gone. Their military infrastructure is being dismantled. Their missile production infrastructure is being dismantled. Even their drone infrastructure is being dismantled. Um, you've got, the whole Strait of Hormuz stuff is really what everybody's going to be focused on. But in reality, there's no way it's technically a U.S. naval blockade at this point, at the strait. It has nothing to really do with the mines. Granted, there are likely going to be mines, but it's really less about that, more about the way that the insurance is written. DFC came in; they're not providing property and indemnity, and basically tying one hand behind their back. Yeah, we'll do the reinsurance stuff, but we're not going to provide for the property and indemnity. Also, you have to stay, what is it, like 25 to 30 nautical miles away, which which basically means you can't pass the U.S. military unless you are being escorted. So, in reality, understanding this, and you all can go fact check that, it's real. Um, what is providing for the primary shutdown. If they move out of the way, they can allow for the free flow. Is It's Iran's, what all they have is threats, right? Can they throw some drones out there? Yeah, they're a highly decentralized governmental and military complex as a country, with the purpose of trying to prevent being overthrown, and then also being able to work autonomously, with, decapitated leadership. And those elements, the longer that this goes on, are going to keep getting rooted out. It's the when the lions are gone, you go rabbit hunting, and the rabbits can scurry into burrows, and then but once they hop out and they're found and tracked, then they're eliminated. And that's primarily what the military is doing. Has been very effective. There is no measure of the military is not completing their objectives. They absolutely are. And then the geopolitical environment surrounding it is essentially Trump is playing a game that is much bigger than Iran. He's putting the squeeze on NATO and Western allies to actually step up or shut up, right? And now we see that they actually are stepping up. And look, you're not going to get some of these NATO allies, specifically Britain, to actually do anything until the majority of the work is done. I'm sorry. That's just the way they operate. Obviously, I don't know, since we last talked, Trump was proven right. His State of the Union speech, he said that Iran had the capability to strike into deep into Western Europe, including London. And then we saw that there was 2 ballistic missiles that went over 4,000 kilometers, or had the capability of going over 4,000 kilometers away, which obviously brings the European allies into striking distance. So he was right about that, with the 2 that were fired on Diego Garcia, which realistically is not even that important of a target for them. Usually when you see some really large, boisterous moves like that, it's kind of the last throws. They're throwing everything against the wall at this point. We're going to use our biggest, baddest things. One failed. I believe one was intercepted. We're still not totally clear on if it was shot down or if that one was intercepted in some other manner. But they've shown that they've been lying in the entire time. They claim that they didn't have it. And remember, they also claim that they didn't have enriched uranium past 60% or
Yeah.
60% or higher. They lied about that. And, this is where I think a lot of people are very one track mind. They don't see the throughput or the through path from the stance of what the United States, they look at everything as independent, siloed operations. And this has really been very clear from this administration, kind of the strategy moving forward. Power projection really started in terms of going into Venezuela. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but who is in Venezuela? How is it connected to the cartels? It's all connected. These are not independent things, right? You
Yeah.
had Iran, Russia, China in Venezuela with various interests, doing deals with, weapons for oil, chemicals for drug production for oil. You had the entire shadow fleet. And obviously, when it comes to chemicals for drug production, where was a lot of that going? To other South American countries for that drug production that was coming into the United States. And people act like, oh no, it's so unclear why you went in there. Well, first of all, he said they have a lot of oil, but also it solves 2 problems at once, because then you knock out competing nations that have been adversarial to the United States, in Iran, Russia, and China out of that region. It applies pressure to Cuba, which China was building up deep relationships with through Venezuela. Obviously, Maduro had a lot of Cuban guards. And then, Iran, major player there. They had cells that were training there and working on weapon systems, and as well as getting in touch with, the underground black market trade for the drug trade, right? Now you go over to Iran and you take a look at strategically, how this is playing out. Iran and Venezuela are intrinsically linked, and people are putting them in their own little box and going, they're not so unrelated. What are you talking about? It's like, okay, you're just dumb. All right. You're dumb and blind. That's what's happening here. Or purposefully trying to obfuscate reality in favor of a narrative. And you don't have to like Trump to understand what's happening for these particular operations, and the fact that they literally went to to Davos and said everything, told everybody that this was going to be a large change. And a lot of it was aimed at Western allies of like, you need to get your crap together. A lot of people don't understand this, but the United States protects the West's global shipping lanes. That is the reason why why the United States, of course, has bases all over the world, Navy all over the world. And right now, who was protecting global shipping lanes that were assisting and allowing for the prosperity and movement of energy and fertilizer and food and everything for European nations? Well, it was the United States. And what has he said? He specifically said this, and this is true, is the Strait of Hormuz is far more important to Europe than it is to the United States. And he is 100% right. We've been protecting that area, and we've had bases all over the Gulf for a very long time in order to protect something that really doesn't benefit us a lot in the end, especially now that the United States is the top producer of oil and gas. And when you really look at this from that light, why are we protecting it? Meanwhile, London's making all the money on all the shipping, right? And benefiting from having closer, cheaper energy. They're making all the money. They don't even import as much from us because they're getting it all from this region. How about we have, how about we go back and check on and make sure and reconfirm the Abraham Accords with the Gulf nations and Israel, and have the Gulf nations manage themselves? Well, in order for them to manage themselves, you got to take this threat of Iran out. And then you got to look at your allies and say, it's your turn to come protect this. You want the energy out of here? You got to protect it. And you should probably diversify too, because this single point of failure is putting the hurt on you right now. Because realistically, they pulled Lloyd's of London for the first time in history, pulled in any war. By the way, there's been plenty of war and plenty of attacks on ships and shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz. Go look at history. And that's something that people don't like to do. They like to live in the moment. But go look at history, even recent history prior to this particular war or conflict. Lloyd's never pulled insurance. They started notifying right after that weekend on the 28th. They started notifying that they were going to cancel policies. There was about 150 ships that immediately dropped anchor and said, we can't move, even though policies were still in play. They got to assess, right? It's risk. And they know that there's a 5-day window in which insurance was going to be pulled. Once insurance was pulled, what happened? The United States came out, and the Treasury came out and said DFC is going to cover the reinsurance. But something very key here that tells you that the United States was planning for this is, one, they had that ready to go, but they purposely didn't offer property and indemnity. That is key to understand, because that would allow for a lot more movement, and likely ships could escort them. Obviously, ships were very heavy in the early stages of taking out Iranian, air defense systems, missiles, drones, locations, and stuff like that, along with the Air Force. But realistically, if they were to start offering property and indemnity, they have to be escorted by the United States at this point. I
Yeah.
don't think the United States wants to be involved in that. Like, handle your own shit, Europe. This is you get energy from here. It's important to you. It put pressure on Asian allies as well. And the first one to come to the table and do a deal was Japan. We saw that last week. Korea's in the process of doing deals. Funny enough, they're doing deals with weapons right now for the United States, but they're going to do deals as well. They all need to diversify. This proves a point that Trump said a long time ago, is this is from a strategic point of view, the Strait of Hormuz, all it takes is for that thing to get shut down and the whole world economy is going to start falling apart. Well, it hasn't fallen apart. It is shut down essentially by all intents and purposes. There is some movement through there. So obviously the mines aren't the biggest problem because we are seeing some movement. Um, and then, I think that from a strategic point of view, the next phase, and we're starting to hear, and I talked to you behind the scenes about Karg right at the very beginning, Karg Island. I talked about it. It's like 90% of the exports from Iran for oil and gas, right? Because it's their only deep water port for super tankers.
Yeah.
And what did we see shortly after you and I talked about that as well? All of the military infrastructure on that island was taken out by the United States. And now there's been, of course, what was it, yesterday? Trump talked a little bit about negotiations and everybody, or it was a little bit before that. He talked about negotiations with Iran and their 15-point plan and all this stuff. And everybody was like calling cap. Oh my God, no, they said that they didn't negotiate with you. Not then it was revealed. Oh no, wait, no, they have been talking. And Pakistan is acting as a mediator. So within
CNN
24
had a
hours,
fucking when CNN had to go out and announce it. Oh my God, they looked
Wolf
they looked
Blitzer looked sick.
miserable.
Yeah. And not less than 24 hours before that narrative was busted. And reality is the news isn't going to be privy to any of this stuff unless these administrations tell you about it. And if you're going to take the side of the actual enemy in a war and take their word for it over your country's word on that, you're just stupid. I don't care if you don't like Trump or the administration. That is dumb. That is a dumb way to approach things. It's like, no, well, clearly Iran said that they didn't. Iran's leadership is absolutely decimated and gone. One side of the house doesn't even know what the other side of the house is doing half the time because that's the way that they were set up. It was purposeful. This is not a conspiracy theory either. It's one of those things of like, you need to understand that if the leadership is fractured, they can be negotiating. And this is where things get a little messy because they could be negotiating with a faction within Iran right now. They could be reaching out, maybe setting up a meeting in Pakistan. Maybe they'll get, diplomats out there. Maybe Trump's team heads out there. Who knows? Right. But the fact of the matter is, this is where this is where the more interesting and hard part's going to come in. Because if let's say it's the leader of the Senate, who doesn't control his X account, by the way, for anybody that wants verification of that, there's some people on X that did a deep analysis of that, but also just go look at the Ayatollah Khamenei. He's still posting as if he's alive. Is he alive? No. All right.
Oh my God.
But then you have the biggest thing here is there was also reports, but unverified reports, that he was seen getting off a plane and was cleared via Israel to actually fly to Pakistan initially, but I don't know if that's verified. It was reported in Israeli media, but I've seen no other verification of that. It's been widely reported on X, but it's still a single source. So we don't know if that really happened. That was the leader of the Senate. I don't remember his name right now. But Galabaf, yeah, Galabaf. Somebody just messaged me. Galabaf, yeah. So obviously, then like he posted something saying that he didn't do that. Now there's more posts going back and forth and more, reports of like, oh, the Americans always break their deal. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Iran. We break deals. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
sure. It's us that breaks the deals. Anyway, it's very clear that the Trump administration, and likely the Israelis are in on this too, are in discussions with some form of leadership there. And I don't blame Trump for not explaining who that leadership is, because you don't want them getting killed by someone that is within the regime there that's got a bone to pick because they're dealing with the United States. I mean, people forget that the regime was a radical authoritarian theocracy, all right, that was highly decentralized on purpose so that they could not be overthrown. They had also separated the IRGC from the military, which conscripts people. Now you could work your way into the IRGC, but there's a lot of loyalty stuff that has to be proven there. And then all of that was decentralized as well as the government itself and the way that the government runs. So right now, one side of the house isn't talking to the other in Iran, and I can tell you that with full confidence. And all you need to do is understand how their infrastructure was set up for their government and military, and even foreign policy and stuff like that. So you're going to see all kinds of mixed messages out of them. Um, and it's now going to be an interesting situation to see how it plays out, because if they are negotiating with one half, are they able to control, is that half the powerful half, or powerful side that can control the other side and get them to calm down, right? And then how do you ensure that? So far, he indicated, what was it, yesterday, that they basically showed proof to him that they are going to be able to back up what they say. But he also noted he doesn't trust them,
Yeah.
right? So there's no anybody that's on one side, anybody that's talking about, oh, there's going to be peace soon. That doesn't. I'm not buying that, right? We're striking them today. They're still
Yeah.
firing. They're still firing from launch platforms in Iran, right? And who are they primarily targeting? Well, I don't know how many launches today. It's been down significantly. You haven't heard about many launches from Iran recently. You'll hear about some volleys here and there, but they're completely decimated. Right now, it's Houthis and other groups that are proxies, that are attacking, like Israel, for instance. Lots of alarms over the past 24 hours, but it's not necessarily all coming from Iran. They've had very little time. Coming from Iran, they've got a few minutes to go to their bunkers. Coming from some of the Houthi-controlled areas in particular, they've got maybe less than a minute because of the distance, and they've been, constantly under assault there. Now, that just tells you that some of the proxies are still getting communications and or acting independently. But now you see the Gulf states starting to issue statements like, Saudi Arabia and UAE, like, we could potentially get involved here and join this fight. You've seen multiple expulsions of the Iranian diplomats and declarations of persona non grata from the Gulf states as well. And you can start to see the chessboard shaping up. The Middle East and the Gulf states are likely going to be handling their own at this point. Once there is some sort of, I think they're going to be more involved. But once there is some sort of, I wouldn't call it conclusion, because you're likely going to see action still happening, but it's likely going to extend to some of the proxy groups in various countries versus directly towards Iran, if there is some sort of a deal to actually calm things down. And then I think the Gulf states step up. Israel now being a part of that because of the Abraham Accords. And I think what you're going to see is something that was reported as the England's Royal Navy is headed over there, and they're going to head up some security task force for securing the strait, which means that NATO nations finally coming in late to the game. Majority of the work is done, and sail on in and claim victory. Here, we helped. Well, even though they get a nice moral victory out of that, in reality, this is their interest, not necessarily the United States. It's United States interest in the destruction of the current regime in Iran, and its proxies, to decrease the threat vector from them via nuclear, ballistic missiles, drones, and just a radical theocracy of an administration. Look, it's regime change via decapitation. And reality is, no one can guarantee that another radical doesn't get in power there, but there are certain checks I'm sure that the administration is looking out for in any negotiations towards a resolution for peace, that would likely involve United States interest. And Trump indicated that they offered up something related to oil and gas. My bet, it has something to do with Karg Island. That's my bet, which would explain why the MEU is over there and why the SOAR unit for the 82nd Airborne is likely headed over there. Not necessarily ground invasion forces, although they can do security operations I do think that it's going to come on the back of the pause, but it's going to be on the
Oh my
back of,
God.
yeah, I had to pause myself there. Gross. Um, that means you can't clip that part, or you can, because that's funny. But the it's likely going to coincide if you start seeing operations taking place, which I can almost guarantee. I I can almost guarantee, not sure, but my bet is that that we have special forces units that are already doing work, right?
Yeah.
You don't hear about that till well after the fact. In some cases, you don't hear about it until years later, right? Many years later, even decades later. But with the MEU, that is an amphibious unit, which is the Marine Expeditionary Unit that's headed over there, and I believe should be arriving there shortly, if not already there. And then the readying, I don't, they haven't deployed. People are acting like the 82nd Airborne is deployed in full. No, it'd be the SOAR unit. It's a smaller, very specialized unit. These are all in an effort to likely secure specific areas um, post deal, post some sort of deal made, and likely handle proxies, as proxies have been getting hit really hard by not just the U.S. military, but also Israel. And now you see that a lot of the Gulf nations are starting to look within and start to address some of these proxies as well. So, yeah, what did I say last time you asked me? I said 4 to 6 weeks. I still maintain 4 to 6 weeks, and then things will be pretty much wrapped up from the operational side.
Ladies and gentlemen, Landy has joined us again to break down not only crypto, but also breaking down everything that is happening in the Middle East right now. Landy, it's a pleasure, as always, to bring you onto the show to have you break shit down.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, David.
By the way, Landy will be on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. You can go ahead and tune in, wrapping up the markets, breaking down the markets in layman's terms, charting all over the place. Understandable charting. Is that a, yeah, that's the new phrase. Understandable charting. He
Charting
is
made easy.
chart.
The
Uh,
ABCs of
oh my
charting.
God.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be looking at Bitcoin. I will be looking at gas, Dixie, traditional markets, and some other commodities as needed. And I did put the call out last week to anybody that really has, something that they'd like me to look at. I'm going to start looking at some other things independently. I've decided that going through and clipping up that video is well, that is something I'll do eventually, is clip either some stuff out of here that we talk about, you and I, or something from the Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos that you can find on the Goxstein account and my personal account on X. But I think I'm going to do some one-offs and upload them to TikTok. So if you do have suggestions for tickers that I'm not regularly covering that you would like to see me break down in a short form format, let me know and I'll do it. That way we can start putting some stuff up there on TikTok, and maybe I'll upload it to X too, so everybody there can check it out.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Landy will be doing some TikToks. Okay, Landy will
I'm gonna
be
dance
doing
while
some
doing them.
TikToks. He'll be dancing to TA. That's right. He will be doing the Renegade to TA. You can see Landy back here tomorrow at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will break down the markets. He'll show off his little charts over there, and maybe we'll talk about some politics. And who knows, he'll be on tomorrow. I don't know. I've restructured and rescheduled a lot of guests for April just because fresh start. April 1st. April Fools.
April
1st.
Fool's Day, fresh start.
Yeah, fresh start. Yeah, I didn't even know how I made it here today. I went somewhere yesterday to a restaurant, really good food too. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened, but yeah, I'm out here. And I can't miss a day, man. I can't miss a day. Thank you, Landy. I appreciate you very much, man. Holla at
Same,
you.
David. I appreciate you as well. Thanks for having me.
Everybody, Landy, okay? Superstar Landy. He asked me to go ahead and call him Superstar Landy. I don't. Anyway, we'll be right back after this commercial break. Shout out to right. I'm gonna tell you right now, TikTok's whipping that ass. All the social media networks that are tuned into me, when it comes down to it, TikTok whipping that candy ass. I'm letting you guys know. I'm letting you know. Anyway, we'll be right back after this commercial break from Cake Wallet and from Midnight. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto.
What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Welcome back to the show. We had Landy on here. We were discussing, Landy was more so. I was sitting back and listening. Landy was discussing, that's funny, right? Landy was discussing everything that's happening in the Middle East right now. Listen, I'm hoping that everything comes to an end soon. I think America is winning. We are winning. I've stated this before on previous shows. I don't understand how Americans can go and root against, the United States of America. I've seen a lot of that. Yeah, you look at even mainstream media. It's like they're rooting for the United States of America to lose. Really weird too. It's really weird stuff. We have people in this country that are hoping and praying that the military loses. Weird. Just very weird. How can you live in this country and pray that the military loses? Explain that to me. Maybe I don't understand. Explain to me how you can be a citizen of this country and you're praying that the United States does not pull out a victory. Look, I don't know how many times I've said this. Whether you agree or disagree with what's happening in Iran, you can't root against your country. And if you are sitting there and you're praying for a loss, then you shouldn't be here in America. You shouldn't be allowed to be in America. That's not freedom of speech. That's not freedom of speech. Coming out here and saying that you hope that America loses is not freedom of speech. That shit is like, that's treason. That to me is right up there with treason. Get the fuck out of here. Like that's how I'm feeling. Go ahead, tell me if I'm wrong about that. Tell me if I'm wrong about that kind of stuff. As for crypto, can I be honest? I haven't even looked at crypto. I'm gonna be very honest. I've been just buying and that's it. Nothing else. I'm not looking. What am I gonna look at? The same thing? It's gonna go back and forth. It's choppy right now. It's going sideways. No, if you believe in crypto and there are assets out here that you think that will grow, that have the right team behind them, then fucking go into it. Otherwise, what is there to talk about? Look at fucking the RSI, MACD. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm not looking at the moving averages and all this stuff. Like, it's boring. Like, I watch people, respectfully, I can see every other day like Landy does, but like sitting here and watching this shit every day doesn't do anything for me. It's DCA all day. That's it. That's it, honestly. You can take a peep, but to sit here for fucking 3-4 hours and look at a chart, move sideways, fuck that. You guys can do that shit. I don't got time for that. Yeah, I got Landy. If I feel like I need to ask something real quick, hey Landy, what do you? Yeah, I got Landy. That's my boy. That's my boy. Listen, every night I check the markets in terms of like I'll do a 5 to 10 minute check and that's it, and I'm done. Nothing's changed though. There's nothing that's changed. Nothing. And at this, right now, like let's keep it 100. Anytime fucking Trump says anything, the market moves. So you got to be prepared. Trump says he's about to go ahead and destroy Iran, and fucking the whole market collapsed. Then he said, I thought about it. Nah, I ain't gonna do it. I'll give him 5 days. And I know why he said that too. He's calculated. Like, it went over your head. A lot of people haven't even mentioned this. He gave him a 5-day extension. That extension ends on the weekend. Nobody can trade. The markets are off on the weekends. He's playing fucking 4D chess, 5D chess, man. Here's the thing with Trump. Okay, let me explain something, because as a New Yorker, I can understand him. Like I grew up watching Trump and other successful millionaires and billionaires in this city build things. Trump is playing. You think he doesn't know what he's doing? He knows absolutely 100% everything that he's doing, and this time even better. His first administration, he got surrounded by people that were absolute dog shit. Let's call it for what it is. This time around, he got real people being like, he got this entire administration is diversified, full of Democrats, independents, and Republicans. That's not what you had last time. It's not what you had last time. And obviously, he understands DC better this time around than he did the first time. But Trump is playing chess while you guys are playing checkers. And that's the truth. And that is 100% the truth. He's playing chess while you're playing checkers. That's it. Bottom line, if you actually think that Israel pulled him into this war, you're crazy. Okay? Like, you are absolutely batshit crazy. It makes me laugh because when I see it on the timeline, when I see people put videos out there saying that it's Israel that pulled him in here, it's laughable. Trump ain't nobody's bitch. Trump ain't nobody's bitch. Trump will not allow you, and will not allow himself to be anybody's bitch. This man's ego is bigger than the Empire State Building. The hatred for Trump, and obviously the hatred for Israel. AIPAC, when anybody mentions AIPAC, AIPAC is like a little, just a little pack compared to all the other special. Oh my God. If I get started, the show goes until like 5, 6 o'clock at night. Like, I swear to God. This shit would go. This shit would go into the early hours. You guys are crazy. You guys are when I hear that talk, I'm like, man. I'll say this again for those who don't understand. Israelis believe that the United States controls Israel, and the people of the United States of America, who are completely brainwashed, believe that Israel controls the United States of America. It's actually fucking hilarious. Both sides believe someone is controlling them from the opposite side. It's fucking funny. It is funny. For anybody who is out here, who's European, Middle Eastern, who is from these part of the woods, you understand. For those who haven't ever left their state, you wouldn't understand. You watch Rachel Maddow and you read liberal magazines. I can't help you. I am telling you that Israelis think that the United States of America controls their government and all the policies. And then you have Americans. There are some Americans that believe that Israel controls every single representative and senator, and including the president of the United States of America. And it is absolutely, it should be a fucking skit. It should absolutely be a skit. It should be a skit. It should be a skit. That's how mainstream media brainwashes the masses. They push the narrative. You get enough people that are mentally ill that sit and they watch these programs and they're like, oh shit, it is real. Yeah, it is real. They're controlling us. And then people just, they have it programmed in their heads that the Jews run the world. Now, I'm going to say this again. If the Jews run the world, then you wouldn't see the narratives that are being pushed out there in mainstream media. I'm giving you factual shit. If the Jews controlled mainstream media, you would see so much pro-Israel shit and so much pro-Jew stuff that is pushed out there, which it isn't. It's like, what, 15 million Jews on the planet? Was it 15 million or billion? What is it? Somebody give me a count. And like 90% of Jews are poor. So like, and I say that respectfully. When it comes to money, like, Jews for the most part aren't wealthy. Are there Jews that sit in high positions? Yeah. But there are a lot of Christians and Catholics that also sit in high positions. So what does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. The current mayor of New York City happens to be Muslim. So what are we saying? How many Jews are in power right now in Congress? In the Senate? Like, I can break this argument in seconds, but again, it's all about conspiracy theory. So like, if it comes down to tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, then like, I'm not going to win against you, because you've already have it set that Jews are bad and Jews are controlling our country, and we told Donald Trump to wage this war with Iran and yada yada yada, etc., etc. You're not going to win. But for anybody who's willing to listen and like hear people out, you might have a difference of an opinion. That's all. There are, for me personally, there are elites, people that you have never seen before, hiding behind the curtain and calling the shots. They don't like Donald Trump. They never expected Donald Trump to win. The machine can't stand them because they know that Donald Trump is not controllable. And now their agenda has stalled. The agenda of pushing pronouns and biological men playing in women's sports. I'm giving you little things. Pushing the education in the United States of America. What was being pushed was, let's talk about gender identification. That was we're not talking about how do we learn things that'll be useful, like mathematics and finance and social studies. And no, let's talk about gender. That was what's being pushed by special interest and the people behind the curtain. And when people say, well, we want Israelis to leave Israel. Well, you have people, I'm going to say this again, and this is a real stat. Almost 80% of Israelis were born in Israel. So where do you want them to go? Where do you want them to go? Like, they don't know any other land except Israel. So where do you want them to go? So when you talk about Trump and him being owned by anybody, I think I really think it's absolute stupid talk. Like, you don't have to like Trump. You don't have to agree with his policies, but I'm telling you, like, it's stupid talk. It really is dumb talk. It's tinfoil hat talk. That's all that it is. That's all. I've already spoken about why I voted for Donald Trump. I don't need to be repetitive and say it again. And if you don't know why I voted for Trump, replay the shows. Replay some of the shows where I go ahead and break it down. By the way, MAGA isn't falling apart. It's just getting stronger. The Republican Party is not falling apart. It is getting stronger. When the midterms come around, I don't know if the Republican Party is going to win. I don't know. But the Republicans need to start campaigning now. They need to go out there, knock on doors, campaign now. And not to just Republicans. They need to campaign towards the independents and people sitting on the fence. Since Trump has come into office, I know a lot of you guys don't want to give him credit, but he has been trying to fix the economy, and it was going in the right direction up until this little conflict that we have in Iran. But gas prices down, eggs, milk, all that stuff, down, 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 down. You're not, and I said this before Trump got elected. I said, even when Trump comes in, this is going to take time. You might see all these improvements happen after he leaves office. After 4 years of serving as the 47th president of the United States of America, maybe the 5th or 6th year into the next presidency, you will see all the improvements that he laid forth with his administration. And whether it's a Democrat or a Republican that is sitting in the Oval Office, again, they will benefit from what has happened here in the last 4 years under Trump. That'll be it. And that's real talk. And I said that. Rewind the tapes. It's not going to... I hope it does. I hope it does happen while he's in office. But most likely, we will see a lot of these things. Like, for instance, all these people investing into the United States of America. A lot of assembly lines coming back to the United States of America. They're still, in the process of building these things out. Maybe it'll take them 2 years. Maybe it'll take them 3 years. Trump might not be in office when they finally open up the assembly lines. These investments finally go live. So again, whoever takes office, will go ahead and benefit. It's that simple. I think it's just fucking crazy, the society we live in now. I think it's crazy where you can't even have a conversation. Like, we can agree to disagree. I love his policy. You don't. Okay, what don't you like about it? Fuck you. What? I asked you, what don't you like about Trump's policies? Fuck you. You're racist. What? You're a Nazi. I'm Jewish. How could I be a Nazi? These conversations, this is America, and people are watching. People outside the United States of America are watching, and I'm being serious, and I know they're going to take offense, but the liberals and far left are absolutely destroying themselves. Even Democrats have come out and said, I don't even know what we're running on. We're just running on, well, I know we're running on hating Trump, but what else are we running on? What are we telling the American people? That's why I don't really know how Democrats are going to win the midterms. All you're running on is we hate Trump. And you know what? That could be powerful too. That could be a powerful thing. But what else? What's the solution? Tax millionaires and billionaires? You've already taxed millionaires and billionaires up the wazoo. What's next? You got Mandani, who's the New York City mayor. He's literally taxing or proposing to tax anybody who makes $1 million or more in New York City is getting taxed. So basically, you're going to chase out every single person from New York City. Where are you getting this money? Have you not seen California? Everybody's leaving. They're moving to states that don't have a goddamn state tax. They're going to Texas, Florida. I'm just saying, man. You think you're right, but you're not right. Shit, I might not be right on everything I say, even though I think I am. But that is, if you're, and I'm going to repeat this. Fine, I'll be repetitive with this. If you're in crypto, I just cannot understand you voting for a Democrat or being a Democrat. First of all, crypto is a libertarian issue. It's not a Republican or a Democratic issue. It is a libertarian issue. So right then and there, it tells me everything I need to know about the person talking about voting for a Democrat. If you're in crypto, you're a libertarian. Bottom line. If you're in crypto, you're a libertarian. And that's true. And anybody who knows the history of crypto will tell you the same thing. OGs will tell you the same thing. How do you vote for Trump? I mean, how do you vote for Democrats? How? See, I don't agree with Life and Glory. This is something that I talked about. This is something what I talked about 2-3 shows ago. Here I am. I'm running for president, right? I am running for the highest office in this land. Okay, here you go. I'm running for the highest office in the land. I promise you, I'm anti-war. I hate war. I don't want to go to war. I don't want to use our resources on war. I'm going to make sure we stay out of any fucking... We're not going into new wars. And we're not going... Like, could we strike here and there on an operation thing? Yeah, but I'm not doing these wars. That's how I'm going in. Now, let's say I win. I become the president of the United States of America, which one day I will be the president of the United States of America, because I believe that. If I ever were to run, I think the way I look, I'm handsome as fuck. I dress well. I speak well. I can articulate myself. I can speak with the people. I can speak with other countries and they will respect me. I go to Russia and say, "Привет, Putin. Ну что? Что мы будем тут делать сейчас?" I can speak. I can speak a different language if need be. But if I'm running for president, and I promise you no new wars, and I come in, right? First of all, I'm running the first time. They're not briefing me on intelligence. So as I get elected, they start the transition happens. They start informing me of things that I didn't know. So they'll say, "Hey, listen, we have intel that says Iran has weapons. They have ballistic missiles that can reach the United States of America." Whoa, hold on. Information comes in saying, "Hey, President Gottstein, we might have a situation where Americans could be hurt." Now I got to sit in the Oval Office. I promised on the campaign that I would not go into war with any country. There will be no new wars, right? Cool. But now the situation has changed. The situation has changed. I'm being told that, God forbid, America could be attacked. Iran's putting it out there that they could attack the United States of America. Me as the president, I have to protect the people of this nation. So you know what I'm doing? I'm sending every carrier and every single goddamn plane, all equipment is going out to Iran, and we're going to do some absolute fucking shock and awe part 2. Except this time, we're not going based on they could have weapons of mass destruction. No, we're going because we know, and we're not going to allow America to get struck by a terroristic regime that has been terrorizing the entire world for the last 4 decades, who has been sponsoring terrorism for the last 4 decades. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to put that to an end. I'm going to talk to them before I do shit, though. I'm going to say, listen, you got 48 hours. Either I'm going to send the full brunt of the United States military up your ass, or you're going to get rid of these motherfucking weapons and you're going to hand them over to us. You got 48 hours. Click. There's no negotiating. There's no conversation. We're going. You either give up your missiles or we're going. And you know what? If Russia's going to give intel, if Russia's going to give fucking intel to Iran to help try to go ahead and defeat the United States of America, I'm calling Putin like, что, блядь, я не понимаю, что ты делаешь тут. That's how I'm calling him up. I'm not even speaking English. I'm speaking straight Russian. Что ты, блядь, тут делаешь? Welcome to the breakdown. Episode 689, sponsored by Midnight. Shout out to Midnight. Love the privacy network that they're building out there this week. Big week. This month is a big month. Shout out to Polymarket. I talked about Polymarket today actually because I was looking at JD Vance losing or dropping, I should say, dropping down into the 18% range in terms of his chances of becoming the president of the United States of America. Cake Wallet, secure wallet. You like security, secure wallet. That's what you like. People's Reserve, helping people get. You don't gotta sell your crypto. You gotta sell your Bitcoin. Get yourself a house. Use it as collateral. Collateral, excuse me. I'll be right back right after this commercial break.
What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh, wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was a promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together. What first got you excited?
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. Welcome back to the show. Again, it's what I was talking about earlier today, and I saw it on Polymarket as I was going through my timeline. Let me just bring this up again. Bring this up again. There you go. On Polymarket, I was scrolling through the timeline and I seen it. I'm going right to the Polymarket X Verify page. It had this. Let me make this bigger here. It had, will JD Vance win the 2028 U.S. presidential election? Chances are 18%, down 5%. And they had the breaking JD Vance 2028 odds crashed to an all-time low of 18%. And when Landy was on here, I told him exactly what I actually wrote here. I hardly talk down Trump, but this is a bit on him, as he's been hyping up Rubio any chance he gets. And I think that's true. I think, look, Rubio has done a phenomenal job. You absolutely can't deny that. Rubio has done a great job. But it's like, JD Vance has been pushed to the back burner. And also, there are a lot of people that are saying that within the Republican Party, they're saying that Tucker has had a major impact on JD Vance. So, yeah, that's what it is right now. I mean, will this play out? Again, who knows? I mean, we're still far away. I mean, 2028 still far away, right? But right now, as it stands, 18% chance. So, who knows? I don't know. I don't know what happens here. Also, real quick to touch on something as well here. I don't know if I can find it here. Let's see if I can find it. I'll stop. Give me a 1 second. Want to bring this up because I don't know. I think this is kind of cool. I mentioned it earlier today. Where is it? Why is it not working? Now it's working. Okay. Hold on. Let me put this up. Let me put this up. Where the freak is? What goddamn share button? Hold on. Where's the share button? Okay. Here we go. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, StockTwits has has their annual cash tag awards, which will be, they'll have this at the New York Stock Exchange. And this is powered by Polymarket. So shout out to, look at that. Shout out to the sponsor, man, of my show, but shout out to the sponsor over there, Polymarket. Category. I'm nominated as the Crypto Creator of the Year, which I said, I'm kind of like, well, hold up, man. I don't just talk about crypto. I'm talking about I'm talking about everything. Well, that's fine. Okay. I respect it. I've been nominated with a good group of guys, so appreciate it. May 4th, 2026. So if you guys tune in to me and you feel like voting, you can go to Cashtag. I think it's cashtag dot. Hold on. I'll tell you what it is right now. You can go to cashtag.stocktwits.com. And if you feel like voting for me, you can go ahead and do so. I don't expect to win, but if I do, that would be great. But thank you very much and shout out to StockTwits. Love them guys. Thank you very much for, nominating me and the show, The Breakdown. That's great. The Breakdown has come a long way, and love to see it. We'll have a lot of guests down the line. April, May, June, July. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll bring on a lot of people that you guys like. I also read some of the comments and people made me laugh. They're like, who the fuck are these people? That shit made me laugh hard. It is 2:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm the host of the show, David Gokhshtein. The Breakdown, episode 689, sponsored by Midnight, also sponsored by Polymarket, the official prediction market sponsor of the DG brand, and also The Breakdown. Cake Wallet, one of the most secure wallets that you have in the crypto space. Shout out to Vic, Seth, the entire team. I'm bringing Vic on here because not only do I want to talk more about Cake Wallet, Cake Pay, get into it a little bit, Monero, talk about privacy. I also want to talk to him about OpenClaw because I see that he's using it, spun up an agent, interested in how that's working out for him. Also, the People's Reserve. Shout out to the People's Reserve, making it easier for people to essentially get housing. That's how I'll put it. I'll put it in layman's terms for you. Why sell your Bitcoin? You can use it as collateral. So there you go. I appreciate Life and Glory. I appreciate that you said I'd make a great president. I think I would actually make a great president. Again, bilingual, look good, face on point, hair on point, suits on point. I think I'd make a phenomenal president. And some people might say, you're being arrogant. I'm not. I'm just telling you, I think I'd make a phenomenal president. I think I represent this country very well. I think I would do very well. I think I'd bring together a really good staff, a really good administration. And I love America. I love America. I love America. I just want you guys to know that. And I love the people of America. I don't care. I might say things about Democrats and liberals and stuff, but at the end of the day, I only wish every single American well. Matter of fact, I wish everybody well. But if we're talking about America, I just want to see people grab the wonderful opportunity you have here in the United States of America. I just want you to grab it and run with it. That's it. We live in the greatest country in the world. We can make it better. We can absolutely make it better. We can. Drugs shouldn't be, medication shouldn't be costing so much. I'd get rid of a lot of shit. You guys would probably call me a dictator, but I would get rid of so much shit that would allow Americans to be able to afford drug prices. They wouldn't have to go ahead and use that last. One thing I don't want to see is my Americans sitting at home and contemplating whether they're going to use the money that they have to buy medication or use it to pay their rent. That's the last thing that I want Americans doing. And I'm uncontrollable. I can't be controlled. But I know one thing that I would be able to go out and number one, the biggest thing is build relationships with other countries. We're doing that now, whether you like it or not. Trump is doing that. But I would really go out there, sit down with all these countries and have a conversation with them. How can we work together? You know, human beings, we've been fighting for so long. And I'm not going in here with a Disney story like, you know, these fantasies. I understand how the world works. But I would sit down with these individuals and say, like, we need to be working together. Enough of let's stop creating all these weapons, and let's start figuring out how we can work together. Like let's really have a free market. I'm telling you, man. You'd be lucky. You'd be lucky if I was the president of the United States of America. You'd be lucky if I took on that kind of fucking job. Even the haters will love me. I would literally do what the president of Venezuela, not Venezuela, but El Salvador did with that country when he came into power. And some people say that we look alike. Apparently, I look like a lot of people. I look like myself. That's the way I look at things. But apparently, I look like a lot of people. They look like me. Apparently, the president of El Salvador looks like me. Apparently, Mandani looks like me. I would definitely fix the relationship with Russia, though. Because Russia being on our side is better than them not being on our side. Because Russia hates China. So I'd figure out a way where we become friendly. That's one thing I would definitely do. And that would definitely cut off China. And yes, I want a great relationship with China. But I know what China's goal is. And China wants to definitely be in the same position as America is now. So I wouldn't allow for that. I would definitely not allow for that. Definitely wouldn't. It's 2:07. Let me see what I got here. I got some friends texting me, they're laughing. Some of them are saying run for president. Some of them are saying run. I look the part. I absolutely look the part. And I wouldn't shave either. I would not shave. I would do a 5 o'clock shadow, but like I wouldn't shave. I wouldn't shave. I would definitely not shave. I have one of my friends. Oh my God. Shout out to AJ. AJ texted me some funny I don't want to repeat it because then everybody's going to say, oh, I can't believe you're saying that. Shout out to AJ and what AJ's doing out there. AJ's killing the game. It's fun to watch a lot of the people. I've seen a lot of people grow up in front of my eyes and do a lot of big things within the crypto ecosystem. So it's nice to see. I love seeing it. Cash out. I'm not saying it. Cash out. Hey, yo. What up? You know, hold on. Somebody look this up. Has anybody from Brooklyn, born in Brooklyn, has anybody who was born in Brooklyn ever served as the president of the United States of America? Hold on. I got to look this up. Hold on one second. I should be the youngest president. Hold on. Hold on. I don't want to give away my age because I know a lot of you guys don't know how old I am. And I definitely don't look my age. So hold on one second. Let me look here. As any Nope. No president has ever come out of Brooklyn. We had presidents who were born in New York, but never from Brooklyn. Never from Brooklyn. No, it's only New Yorkers. They're just from New York, though. I'm talking about Brooklyn. I'm talking about Brooklyn. Anyway, I wanna thank everybody who tuned in today. I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that I made your workday better. Who was born in Brooklyn? Roosevelt. He was born in Brooklyn. Really? They said nobody came out of Brooklyn. Hold on, man. They said nobody was born in Brooklyn. Hold on. Let's see. Nope. Hyatt Park, New York. No. Oh, so Trump's from Queens. I gotta represent for Brooklyn. I forgot Trump's from Queens. I gotta rep for Brooklyn. I gotta rep for Brooklyn. If you know anything, hold on. If you know anything about New York City, Queens, Brooklyn, like to me, Queens is a big ass highway. So like we don't really, Brooklyn don't really get along with Queens. Okay, so like respectfully though. Man, the 5 boroughs, man. When hip hop used to be good. It wasn't mumble rap. By the way, I was probably the only cat in Brooklyn that listened to country music. Or all types of music. Anyway, I am nominated again for the Cashtag Award. The Cashtag Awards 2026. I'm nominated for an award. Crypto Creator of the Year. Okay. If you think I deserve it, you can go vote at cashtag.stocktwits.com. May 4th, they'll be announcing the winners from the New York Stock Exchange. Who knows? Maybe I'll make an appearance. I'll ring the bell if I win or some shit. Yeah, that's basically it. Crypto moving sideways. That's all I can say. Crypto is moving sideways. Maybe one day I'll go back up. No, I think with the new Fed chair coming through, I think we'll see crypto start moving higher. I already think crypto is stabilizing and it's about to go higher. We still have a few days left in March for me to go ahead and see my thesis come true. Landy might be laughing out there, but I think my thesis will come true. Why is Giga Pump asking me if I remember Apu? I talk about Apu all the time. Why you keep on saying that? Like, do you remember Apu? Why would you say it? How do I not remember Apu? I grew up, I didn't grow up next to the Barclays Center, but I wasn't far away. The Barclays Center, when I grew up in Brooklyn, the Barclays Center was about maybe 20 to 30 minutes away. So shout out to the Barclays Center, though. It's small. The Barclays Center should have been bigger, but it's small. It's a small arena. I think the capacity there is 15,000. 15,000 is what I think 15,005, something like that. I've been there a lot. To watch the Nets play. I'm not a Nets fan, but I just went there after work to go ahead and watch the Nets play. That's when the Nets were actually good and they had a good team. But what am I doing? I see TikTok is alive again. I guess I'm not on suspension no more. Okay, they let me out the penalty box. I'm not serving, a game misconduct, which they had me. What was it? 3 3 days ago, I was talking and I said Democrats look like aliens, and all of a sudden, my live stream shut off. It's crazy. It's crazy. Islanders now play in Long Island. They got a nice big stadium over here. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow, episode 690. We are 10 episodes away. As of tomorrow, we'll be 10 episodes away from 700. The 700 Club. That is a big club, okay? That is a big-ass club. 700 goddamn episodes. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? 700 episodes. I've been out here doing this, and that's official. Unofficial, it's more than that. I've been out here 10 and a half years on a microphone, looking into a camera, talking about cryptocurrency, talking about politics, talking about trending news. And I'll be on tonight, by the way, at 9 p.m. Eastern, actually 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be on Rob Nelson's show. We'll be talking politics, okay? Trending news, politics. I'll be on there. Rob Nelson, former syndicated Fox, what was it, Fox News or Fox host. So I'm going to be sitting in as a guest and talking about politics. What I do best. Слушай меня. Okay? Слушай меня. Россия. Война не надо уже больше. Okay? Нам войну не надо тут. Okay? И вы с Иран говорите? Блядь. Я вам покажу. If я бы стал президент, блядь, что я бы сделал? Вы даже не понимаете. Мы бы не сели и кушали борщ. Yo, are they gonna also ban me for talking Russian? Will they ban me for talking Russian or Yiddish? Will they ban me for that too? Somebody said, Fran said, I'm talking dirty right now. I am talking dirty right now is what is stated right now. Yiddish is just Yiddish is kind of like German, by the way. Yiddish is kind of like German. That's where it comes from too. Слушай меня. Все, я уже кончил вот эту программу. Я хочу всем сказать привет. До свидания. И завтра мы увидимся. Все, до свидания. Давай.